Okay, William. So, what do you remember here about the scene and about the day? Filming and even just training and choreography, or just any details you can tell us about the whole sequence.
Well, I remember this was I remember when Daniel did come out and the confusion about that. And I remember feeling looking at Sensei and looking around and not knowing what was going on. And there was here comes the champ coming back out, and I know what's going to about to happen, Uh, but all of the choreography we had gone through for months, 3 months, every day, sometimes 5 days a week, hours a day, and now we're putting on the show, and we had full fans. It was kind of like live theater. There was a lot of, there were real people cheering. We didn't do this in pieces. We did this A to Z, all the way from the first fight to the crane kick, multiple times, with cameras, maybe 9 or so cameras in the bleachers and on every angle. So it was really like live theater. It wasn't like, okay, now we're going to get this kick, now we're going to get this shot. It was really happening. And at that point, everything we had trained for up for that time, when we started with pads on our hands and 3 feet away, and now we are no pads on, and we're literally grazing each other and sometimes clashing, but not hard because we were that rehearsed. And so we had rehearsed this a million times, but to do this here with a live audience just brought it to a whole other level. I remember the adrenaline. I remember walking around in there, and there were real karate people in there during the earlier part of the tournament with my black belt on, and I'm a white belt at that time. And I feel like this guy. I felt like this is really happening. It was like a real experience that happened. It wasn't just making a movie. It was like it really happened. That's what I
Yeah.
remember.
And there was, and seeing these sequences is the first time when I first saw the movie, seeing all the cuts and the editing that John Avildsen put in. There were certain stretches where we'd have, say, roundhouse, step kick, spinning fist, back kick, whatever. And then he'd cut, and it would make it longer and bigger. And I was so excited. It's like, whoa, I look even better than I expected. Like it kept, as from him directing Rocky and all of his work beforehand. And so that I remember with the scene, and also the adrenaline, like Billy said. I mean, I'm looking at this moment, bam, 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 roll. That's all. And it was all there, but the extra cuts, just amp up and elevate the level of intensity. But it was pretty intense. I mean, it was a ballet, and a tango that Billy and I rehearsed throughout the shooting of the film and weeks before we started. And that first time through with a full audience, it was theater. It was absolute theater. And then you break it down, you do little shots by shot, but all this stuff. And most of it was shot wide. When you look at these shots, it's not like really tight close ups like so many films are now. You get like a billion cuts. This is, look at that stretch right there, just on Billy, but coming across and a pretty good hit there. So we were well prepared, and it had a great energy to it. It's fun
Yeah.
to sort of watch.
Uh, yeah, and John, this is like filming an event. The camera today and a lot of things is part of the character. It's a new character in the show, and it's a movement thing. And John had a way of capturing and recording something without imposing the camera into it, and letting things breathe. That's why the movie, it sits. It's even today. It breathes, and it's not over directed. It was just perfectly directed. And he shot this in his camera, in his video camera, his rehearsals, as he did the whole entire movie.
Yeah.
But way before we shot the movie. So wasn't an accident. This was planned out for months and months and months, and all in his head. And then Jimmy Crabe, our DP, and the writer, and of course Jerry, and then post production. And then here comes an illegal kick, I think. Yeah. Yeah. I remember that kick. Remember at the end of it, I was supposed to come in and beat him with the right hook,
Right,
and
but that,
pulled
the
out this
fact,
illegal crane kick. And
the fact that illegal kick launched a big series on Netflix.
yeah, it changed the ending of the movie too. Nobody knows that, and it works better actually with that kick. No, and it was emotional. I remember this part coming up and handing the trophy. It was emotional, and it was actually a cathartic relief for me as the actor, because up to that point I had just been relentless on Johnny been relentless, and to get to have that moment there was really good.
Yeah.
And I was curious for you guys. Billy, you said that you were a white belt at the time. So I'm sure you told the story before, and I mean, I don't remember, but for both of you guys, I guess starting with you, Billy, how much training did you have before doing the film, and then Ralph afterwards, if you could address that too, if you guys had any training before, how ready were you for these roles back then?
Oh, not at all. I was a wrestler in high school, but that was it. I didn't know a lick of karate. My final audition was meeting Pat Johnson, who trained us, and he brought me to a room and he stretched me in a few different ways to see if I was limber, and got on the bat phone and said something and sent me home. And a couple hours later, I got a call that I got the part. Trained for that for the full 3 months, and then trained for a number of years after in the discipline of Tang Soo Do, and then stopped and went back and forth. And then I did some other karate type movies and would go and train. And I was just so lucky and blessed to have trained with some of the world's best fighters. So I'm dangerous enough for on screen. I'm a good on screen fighter.
Yeah.
And Ralph, how about for you?
Well, I had about 5 weeks, give or take, before we shot the film to train and start on these fight sequences. And so, I mean, I was, I had all these I have these long limbs. I always say I have nobody, because my torso is like this big. I'm the shortest guy at the table, but I have the long arms and long legs, and it played into the crane and the LaRusso kind of lankiness. And I understood steps and choreography. I took dance lessons when I was a kid. So I just, I'm not supposed to point my toes in martial arts, but it's still a choreography, so I was pretty good at picking it up. And then I stuck with it a little bit. Well, I did, 3 Karate Kid films, so I didn't stray too far. But then after the second sequel, I kind of put it to bed, and who knew I'd be dusting that gi off now as a youngster.
Really appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time, guys. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
It was fun.
Thank you.